thank you so much for being here. If you wouldn't mind giving us a little introduction, who you are, what you do, where you represent, that sort of thing.
You bet. And I'm State Representative Danny McCormick. I actually represent my districts completely in Caddo Parish. It's actually North Caddo, West Caddo, and Southwest Caddo, which is for the most part, is the rural part of Caddo Parish, which I've lived in the rural lifestyle my entire life, and I love that lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that is of freedom and liberty, and those are kind of the passions I take to Baton Rouge with me when I legislate. I've been a small business owner my whole life, and I got on up in age. Got my son and my daughter running my business for me, and decided I just try to get involved and just do my best to try to make a better place for my kids and grandchildren. So.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And how long have you been in state legislature?
This is my second term. I'm starting my 5th year.
Awesome.
That is cool.
So we are here to talk a little bit about the constitutional carry bill that is now a law that you proposed and authored. And so first, I'd like to hear you explain a little bit about what that bill is, sort of the language of it, and also what it means to you.
You bet. And I'm a co-author of that bill, but I've been pushing constitutional carry. This is the fifth year I've supported constitutional carry. Kind of give you all a little background. When I ran for office the first time, the number one asked question in my district when I knocked on the doors of my district was, "Will you constitutional carry bill?" So that's where I got the idea on. It's knocking doors, talking to my constituents. They were concerned about their freedoms and liberties when it comes to several different aspects, but mostly to their Second Amendment. So I've always been an avid outdoorsman and a gun owner, and raised in that environment. And I believe in the Constitutionalists. I believe, you hear people say we live in a democracy, but in reality, we live in a constitutional republic. And in a constitutional republic, the rights and responsibilities belong to the individual. Until I've done something wrong, until I've committed a crime to have those rights taken away from me, the government doesn't have any right to take that away from me. And so that's what constitutional carry does. It just basically puts back or takes the ability away for the government to demand that you have some type of government permission to be able to conceal carry a firearm in Louisiana.
Okay. So you would say that it was your constituents that inspired you to push this law forward?
I would say it was my constituents on that part, and also my grandchildren, and especially I have 6 grandchildren. I have 4 granddaughters. In Louisiana, when they turn 18, they couldn't get a permit to carry concealed weapons. So this will allow them to take a firearm and put them in the purse and, protect themselves from murders and rapists. And I always throw tyrants in there also. And my granddaughters, 2 of them killed their first deer when they were 6 years old. So they're going to be quite capable of defending themselves when they get to that with a firearm when they get to the age of 18. So when they leave the house and when they're most vulnerable to predators, they're not allowed to conceal a weapon. This will allow them that ability to defend themselves.
Got it. So this is a bill that is about self-defense for you?
Yes, it's about personal liberty and freedom and self-defense. I believe it's enshrined in the Constitution, and I don't believe we had any right to take it away from the people to start with. And I think we were the number so high now, maybe the 27th state to have a constitutional carry bill. Every state that touched Louisiana had constitutional carry before us, and now we have it, and or it will be. It's already been signed in law, but it won't go into effect till July the 4th.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So you said we are the 27th state to now have this bill, passed, and, it's not being talked about. So what is it like getting a bill like this one pushed through the legislature? What is that like?
Well, it was a challenge. The main thing you have to do, and the reason I carried the bill all 5 years, and even though Governor Edwards vetoed a similar bill in 2021. I continue to carry the bill because what we were able to do through that process was educate the public and educate the representatives and the senators that may not be that familiar with firearms and the different laws. And so every time it went through a committee, I think people got more and more comfortable with it. We were able to keep it on the front burner for the constituents. We made it part of the governor's election. And so it's a process. And, legislating things should be a process. It should take time. It should be well vetted. And it was a long fight, but we got it. So it was worth the fight.
Okay. So what was the response like after you completed that fight in your own district? What was the response like that you heard from the people that had voted you into office?
Basically saying thank you so much for representing us. We don't feel like we've had this good a representation in a while, and we appreciate you going to Baton Rouge and doing the things that you said you would do on the campaign trail. And I think that's what people respect. I think they respect, honesty and somebody that defends their principles. And, I try to represent my district well, but as a representative, I have a set of principles that I go by, and, I try to vote those principles. And if the people in my district principle starts differing from mine, they'll vote me out of office. But I'm always try to vote my principles, and that's important. And in Baton Rouge, there's a lot of us, and we all have different sets of principles. And I think that's a good melting pot to come together to take these laws and get them into effect. I don't think we need one dictator making any of these laws. So I take my principles to Baton Rouge, and we combine them with everybody else's, and we see what kind of legislation comes out the other end of the project.
Got it. Thank you. And in a similar vein to that, what was it like finding out that Governor Landry was signing that bill and it was becoming a law?
It was almost like a dream come true. It was sitting there in the room with Governor Landry and watching him sign it into law, and it was very humbling, after all the hard work that we'd went through, and it was very humbling. It was very fulfilling to have that happen.
Okay. So, on another note, what would you say to critics of your bill who say that the decrease in barriers for people to carry a concealed weapon will encourage people to use guns for illegal purposes and also encourage crime?
I found that so strange. Being a liberty-loving patriot, being believing in a constitutional republic. As we said earlier, the rights and the responsibilities belong to the individual. And open carry has been legal ever since Louisiana was a state. And, so right now, basically all it amounts to is if I'm a law-abiding citizen, I can wear a firearm on my side. And, but if I put on a coat and cover it up, now I'm a criminal. What really concerns me about those people is I don't think they trust individual people with their freedoms. And I think we ought to trust people with their individual freedoms. I don't think we should take those away and give it to government. As we can look through history, government has not been a very good protector of our rights. And I think I believe the United States Constitution was set up like that. I mean, it's the rights belong to the individuals. And I really don't understand how people have those fears. Like I said, open carry has been legal for years, and people have responsibly open carried. And I think people don't trust their neighbors enough. And maybe that's something we're different in the rural area. We still know our neighbors. We depend on each other, and we learn to trust people more than we do, government bureaucrats, so to speak.
Got it. Thank you. So, would you want this constitutional carry bill, I guess now law, or something similar to be implemented on the federal level or in all 50 states? Or do you think that this is something that uniquely benefits Louisiana? I'm a very much of a states' rights advocate. I'm
completely satisfied with the states making those decisions on that particular issue. I think it'd be great if we had it on the federal level, but on the other hand, our 50 states should be 50 melting pots of experiments to see what works and what doesn't work. I think you see that in most of the states that have constitutional carry. I'm not saying they're getting people coming to their states because of that, but those states that honor freedom and liberty are seeing their populations expand, where the states that don't are seeing theirs shrink. So I'm a state rights advocate. So it'd be great to see it on the federal level, but I'd be content if it stayed on the state level.
Great answer. So, Louisiana, over the past few years, on that note, has been having a decrease in population because people have been leaving the state for one reason or another. Do you believe that now that this bill is going to become a law, that we might see a turnaround in that?
I really don't think this individual bill is going to make that turnaround, but I think that the thought process that gave us this bill will make the turnaround. Mm-hmm. I think we need to trust the people in Louisiana with their own money. I think we need to try to leave as much of it in their hands as possible. I would love to see the personal income tax go away. I think that would be great. I think us as a state need to, just like we trust the people with their constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, we should do the least amount of taking tax money away from them as possible. So I think this thinking process that gave us constitutional carry will help us keep population, but not necessarily it by itself.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. So going back to the bill now law itself, how does either the language of it, or how do you envision it being implemented in a way that it balances the freedom to bear arms and gun safety?
Well, and as we spoke before, I trust the people with their rights. This bill doesn't allow you to do anything unsafely with a firearm. If you're doing something unsafely with a firearm, you can still be charged with a crime. So, this is like we spoke before, people have shown that open carrying, they're responsible with it. So I trust the individuals with their rights, and in the rural area, and we to some extent we self-police. I mean, we talk to our neighbors about how they carry firearms and different things, and try to educate the individuals. We in our community go out together and we practice with our firearms. So, I wouldn't, if you made it legal for, I wouldn't think if you just gave somebody an airplane, they go in it and just fly it without training. But I don't think that government training for a few hours every 5 years is not a training that's sufficient in my mind anyhow. But I trust the individuals before they carry to be able to get the training they need.
Right. Yeah, and I didn't mean to insinuate at all that your bill was not unsafe or would promote people to be unsafe. It's just that sort of common criticism of the bill is that it would lead to more unsafeties, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. I apologize if in any way I insinuated that you put forward a bill that would make Louisiana more unsafe. That was not at all my intention.
Sure. No, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I do have a question to add on to that. As far as the concern of high cities with high crime rates such as Baton Rouge and New Orleans, do you think we will see changes in those numbers, or do you think it would just remain the same?
I would hope we'd see changes in those numbers. I would think you would take communities like Baton Rouge and New Orleans or Shreveport, which is which is in Caddo Parish where I'm at. I think in the communities that have the higher crime levels, that this bill actually would benefit them the most, because getting a concealed carry permit can be very expensive, and usually people that are living in the high crime areas have a lower income level. So, they would be able to protect themselves in their house, if they had someone that broke in their house and meant harm to them, that they would have the ability, to walk outside in their yard and be able to protect themselves. So I see it as a like with everything else we talked. I believe it's one spoke in the wheel to making crime less in Louisiana.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. And also another question would be, what is your vision for the future of our state?
Oh, I view the future of our state is that we start concentrating on the individual rights and liberties of the individual and the freedom for them to get out and work and make a living on their own. I think we concern ourselves about too large corporations too much. I think we concern ourselves with trying to give tax breaks to large corporations, when in reality, I think we should be giving tax breaks to the individual working class people in the state, the small business owners. I think if we concentrate on the people and encourage our people through our laws and our regulations to keep them here, I think the businesses will come because we will have the workforce already here. So I envision a state that is more concerned with the individual rights and liberties of an individual than about large corporations and where they may or may not come into our area. I've talked to large corporations about coming into North Caddo Parish before, and tax breaks were way down on their list. The one thing that was high on their list was qualified employees. And as you very well know, we have an out-migration problem, and we need to do what we can do to keep those people here. And I don't think with lack of jobs is actually the problem. I think lack of a good environment for them to raise their children in and is our biggest issue that we need to address.
Got it. Thank you. So you kind of did already touch on this, but I am curious. Is there anything specific that you're working on now in the legislature that you would be comfortable sharing with us?
You bet. There is one thing that I have been working on. I actually was working to exempt groceries from any type of sales tax. As I mentioned earlier, we're always worried about the large corporations and less about the individuals. In Louisiana right now, groceries, and when I say groceries, I'm talking about the ingredients you use to make food at home. They're not taxed, but they don't have a sales tax at the state level, but they do at the local level. So I actually have a bill that's going to be in hearing Monday, and it's going to look into the ability to exempt even local taxes on groceries. When I'm talking about groceries, I'm not talking about going out to a restaurant and eating prepared food. I'm talking about the ingredients for food. And in Louisiana, we have the highest sales tax in the country. For the last 4 years, food costs have increased by 25%. And I think we need to look in, like I said earlier, about giving the working class people a break. And I'm actually more concerned about hopefully doing away with the state income tax. But we'll see how that works out in committee. But I think we need to work in that direction of taking the tax burden off our individual citizens.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening.
Thank you. This was our first Tiger Talk podcast.
First Tiger Talk with a guest.
First time we talked with a guest. First time a guest called in. First time Koko's ever been.
This is my first time.
Yay!
Yeah.
So, thank you again to Senator McCormick for taking time out of his busy schedule to meet with us. And thank you for listening. I hope that as a result of this podcast and of our news, you feel more informed about the laws that may directly affect you.
All right. Signing off.
Goodbye.
Deuces.